Introduction to cane packing. Hi everyone! Today I'm going to take a short break from my caning tutorials to introduce to you cane packing. This is because cane packing is an especially useful technique to learn when creating freeform shapes such as a flower, a star, or anything other than a circle or square. Freeform shapes are generally impossible to reduce unless you pack it first, which gives you more options and allows you to get the most use out of your cane. The reason why you wouldn't want to reduce a freeform shape like this flower without packing it is because it will end up looking smooshed like this. And it's fine if that's the look you're going for, but most likely you want it to retain its original form, just much smaller, and that's where cane packing comes in handy. Another reason why you might utilize cane packing is, let's say you have a fairly large cane shape such as this flower that doesn't have much left in it and you want to get a lot more slices out of it, but at this stage it's so short it would be difficult to cut because short canes tend to wobble when being cut. Cane packing will allow it to become reducible, giving you much more size options out of this single cane so you can really squeeze additional slices out of it. Now that I've introduced to you what cane packing is and why it's useful to learn, let's now see it in action. Cane packing in action. First, choose a color for your packing clay. If you choose the same color as the background where you're going to embed the slices on, it will blend seamlessly as if there was no packing clay surrounding the freeform shape. Alternatively, you can choose a contrasting color for the background and purposely have the packing color show through to create a polka dotted or random pattern effects. It's really up to you, but here I'm going to make it the same color as my background. I start off by separating the petals a bit with a clay tool to give it some more room so I can more easily stuff the clay into the grooves. Now this might not be necessary, it really just depends on what shape you're trying to achieve. There really isn't a right or wrong way to create the components to stuff the packing clay. However, I like to roll the packing clay through a thin setting like 4 or 5, then cut thin strips to insert into the gaps of my cane shape. I cut them thinner if I want to fit it into a smaller crevice, and then bigger when I have more room to fill in. And just keep adding on more pieces of clay as you work your way around your cane shape. Here I'm working on turning the shape into a circle because it would require less clay than say a square. And I like to use my clay tool to smoothen out the texture on the front so that it's flat, which will help it reduce more evenly. After your cane is mostly packed up, it might look something like this. But before reducing, I also like to wrap the cane with a border to ensure more even reduction. Next, I compress the cane a bit to meld some of the pieces together. Before reducing further, I like to add some scrap clay to the ends, and the scrap clay allows you to preserve more of the cane design. After that, start reducing your cane as you normally would. I do a mixture of pinching across the length of the cane and pushing the sides multiple times until I get the size I want it to be. Using cane slices for veneers. After reducing the cane to the largest desired size, cut the cane in half to create additional size options. You can do this as many times as you see fit. Here I'm doing 3 different size canes. It's best to let the canes rest overnight to firm up before cane slicing. After they've rested, slice the canes and rotate the cane after each slice so that it doesn't get too smooshed in one direction. Another added benefit to cane packing is that conventional shapes like a circle give you a much smoother slice because the blade won't get caught up in grooves or crevices. And it's also easier to fix distortions after you've cut your slice. Cut multiple slices from each cane. Next, take the background clay and run it through setting number 0 on your pasta machine. Then place various size cane slices randomly on top of the background clay. Take a roller and roll this across the sheet. I find this helps tremendously in terms of leveling the components without increasing the size of the background veneer too much, if any at all. Also, you can place tracing paper over the clay sheet and gently rub with your fingertips to help blend the seams of the packing clay so that it becomes one with the background. And as you can see here, the flowers just look like they are floating against the veneer, and now you can use it for your project. In the next steps, I'm going to turn it into a ring dish, so y'all get a little bonus addition in this tutorial. Also, I want to take a quick moment to answer a subscriber question who had asked me about how to lift clay off a ceramic tile without distorting the clay. To do that, I use a semi-flexible knife and sort of curve it and run it along the ceramic at an angle. Then I scoop and lift the corner of my clay sheet slightly. Then with my fingers, I do some dabbing motions to gently lift the clay off the ceramic, being careful not to tug or stretch the sheet. If your clay sheet is fairly small, then you can just scoop the clay with your knife. The key is to use enough force. Ceramic tiles are scratch resistant, so you don't have to worry about damaging it. After that, run it through setting number 1 of your pasta machine, then cut out a circle using a 4.125-inch template. Place it on top of a glass jar and then bake it in the oven. And here is the finished ring dish after being sanded and having the rims painted with Plaid's gold liquid leaf. If you like to make this exact ring dish, feel free to watch my previous flower canes tutorial so you get step-by-step instructions for making this cane design. Some caveats to cane packing. There are some limitations to cane packing, such as if your background isn't a solid color, it'll be hard to make your packed clay appear invisible when the slice is on top of that textured background clay. The best solution would be to plan ahead if you're doing a freeform shape. So if you're going to put it against a textured or patterned background, make sure that you make your cane the size you intended it to be so that you don't have to pack and reduce it in the first place. And as I mentioned earlier, the other option is to make the packed clay a part of the design. So you could use the packed clay to create like a polka dotted pattern effect. I've also researched that you could pack it with translucent clay and then slice off the translucent clay. However, it's just a bit time consuming and you have to like precisely cut off the translucent clay because if any residue remains, it will appear visible on your background clay. Here's one example of myself testing this out using Kato translucent. As you can see, inaccurate cutting will cause the slice to blur into the translucent and leaves a residue that shows up on the background clay. However, Kato isn't the most clear translucent clays. I've heard Primo translucent is the most clear, but hadn't tried that out yet. I can see this being useful if you really have no choice and are willing to precisely cut off the translucent. Like this area here is a bit more sharp. I just wanted to show you that this option is available. Thank you for watching till the very end. If you learned something new, please give this video a thumbs up and I'll see you guys in the comment section.